You think I cheated, Karen? I didn't even get to answer before my sister slid the envelope across the Easter table toward my husband. Not think, Molly. I know. Lark's blonde hair doesn't match Nolan at all. You've been lying to him for 6 years. Everyone finally sees what kind of woman you are. My sister smirked like she'd destroyed my life. She had no idea the bomb she'd brought wasn't meant for me. It was meant for her. My name is Molly Martin. I'm 35 years old, an ER nurse in a small Missouri town, and for 3 months I've been quietly collecting proof while my family thought I was the one hiding something. It started at Christmas, 4 months earlier. My sister Karen had always been the favored one, the one my father toasted at every birthday while I sat 2 seats down and unmentioned. That night she took my 6-year-old daughter Lark upstairs to fix her hair for a family photo, the way she'd done for 2 years running. I didn't think anything of it. I whisked eggs in the kitchen while my mother hummed along to the radio. Karen came back down, tied Lark's hair with a red ribbon, and said, "Now she looks like Christmas." I said thank you. It was the last kind sentence I ever said to her. What I didn't know was that she'd kept strands of that hair, and 3 months later, she would mail them to a lab in Salt Lake City along with her own cheek swab, ordering a relationship test she didn't fully understand. Karen had always resented that I'd married well, that my husband Nolan, a large animal vet, was steady and quiet and adored our daughter. Karen's own engagements had ended twice. She couldn't sit next to someone else's happiness without wanting to take it apart. By 2023, her target became Lark's blonde hair, an inherited trait from my great-grandfather that skipped 3 generations. Karen didn't know the history. She only saw a blonde child next to 2 brunette parents, and she decided she had found a scandal. Through the following year, she began calling Nolan directly, always under some pretext, always circling back to Lark. Nolan never mentioned it. He simply started saving the messages. 52 files by the time I found out, every comment, every insinuation, kept quietly in a folder labeled only with initials. He wasn't building a case out of anger. He was building a witness, the way you prepare for a storm you can feel but can't yet see. In February, Karen texted him once, directly. "If you want to know the truth about Lark, I can help you." He never replied. I saw the notification on our shared tablet and didn't understand it yet. That was the night I stopped sleeping soundly. 3 weeks before Easter, I asked my mother a question I'd never thought to ask. Why did our late family friend Wayne leave his land only to Karen and not to both of us? My mother went silent for 6 full seconds and then said words she had never said in her life. Some things don't have a reason. My mother always had a reason for everything. That non-answer told me more than a real one would have. I didn't know yet what I was circling, but my husband did. The Wednesday before Easter he told me only this. Whatever happens Sunday, trust that I saw it coming, and trust that our daughter is safe. That's all he would say. What none of us knew was the truth sitting underneath 4 decades of silence. Back in 1988, my mother had worked late at the family diner while my father was gone, for weeks at a time on long hauls. Wayne, grieving the loss of his own children, had started driving those empty roads at night, and one night he stopped at the diner after closing. My mother's work log for that date, written in pencil instead of her usual pen, read simply, "Closed early, headache." 9 months later, Karen was born. My father held her at the hospital with tears in his eyes, believing completely that she was his. Wayne never told anyone. He carried it until 2019, when for reasons only he understood, he submitted his DNA to a small genealogy project before he died of a heart attack that same year. Karen, with no idea any of this history existed, ordered her test in early March purely to expose me. When the results came back, she read only the first line, a relationship consistent with half rather than full sibling, and she jumped straight to the conclusion that suited her. She printed all 4 pages, but only ever read the first one. She hid the envelope in her bag and waited for Easter. Easter Sunday was warm, the red buds blooming along the highway. Nolan reached over at a stop sign and said, "Whatever happens, we take our daughter home the same as we came." I nodded, unable to speak. Dinner started normally. Then, after the first course, as my mother stood to clear plates, Karen stopped me from helping and pulled the envelope from her bag. She slid it across to Nolan and made her accusation in front of everyone. I did not answer her. There was nothing to answer. Nolan set down his fork slowly. Before opening the envelope, he gave her one chance to reconsider what she was accusing me of. She told him to read it, certain of her victory. He read the actual numbers aloud, calmly. the way he explains difficult diagnoses to worried clients. A full aunt and niece share 25% of their DNA. This report showed only 12.5. That meant Karen and I did not share both parents. Then he turned to the ancestry breakdown. Lark's German percentage was far too low to have come from our side, but consistent instead with Irish ancestry, matching a genealogy sample submitted years earlier by Wayne himself. The final line stated the match as parental, with high confidence. The word landed on the table and nobody moved. My mother, who had been standing the whole time holding a stack of plates, finally sat down and began to cry without a sound, the kind of crying that had been rehearsed in silence for 38 years. My father asked her only one question. Was it Wayne? She nodded once. Karen's face went slack as she finally read past the first page herself. She begged Nolan to stop talking. He already had. My father stood, walked past both of them, and came to me. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Take your daughter home. I need to sit with my wife." In one sentence, after 35 years, he made me the only name that mattered to him. We left quietly. In the truck, Nolan finally told me everything, handing me the folder that night, letting me read every message at my own pace. I didn't cry. I only said that he'd been protecting me from a truth about my mother, while she refused to protect me from a lie about my daughter. He said simply that he hadn't known the whole story, only that she was the door it would come through. In the weeks after, the town understood everything without needing to be told twice. Karen resigned from her teaching job, packed a small trailer, and left for Kansas City without telling anyone where she'd gone. She kept the deed to Wayne's land but never sold it and never visited it, the way people keep a scar instead of removing it. My father began driving to my house every Monday afterward, sitting on my porch, slowly earning back the years he'd lost, teaching Lark to fish the way Wayne once taught the daughter he'd believed was his own. My mother writes me letters every 2 weeks, never asking forgiveness, only describing small, ordinary days, counseling on Thursdays, bread on Fridays, quiet evenings with my father. I read every one. I haven't answered yet, but I will, when I'm ready. Karen has never contacted me directly. A birthday card reached my cousin months later with no return address, only a short line in her handwriting saying she didn't know how to be anyone yet, but she would find out. I told my cousin to keep the card and keep her secret. That's a mercy Karen has to give herself now, not one I owe her. That night, sitting on the porch with Nolan, I finally said what I'd needed to say for 35 years. I will be okay. I already am. My sister spent $149 trying to prove I wasn't who my family thought I was. She was right about the wrong person. I don't say that with triumph. I say it because I finally understand I never owed anyone an apology for simply being myself. If you had been sitting at that table and heard your sister slide that envelope across to your husband, would you have stayed silent and let the evidence speak for itself? Or would you have confronted her before she ever got the chance?